Hey, it's Matt Harrison. This is Fantasy Football Almost Daily. A couple of quick things. We've climbed to number 23 in the latest Apple Podcast rankings of fantasy sports shows. That's all thanks to people like you who are helping spread the word about Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please continue to share and show this show off to your friends. Or if you hate our advice, share it with your enemies. And remember, give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us out immensely. And if you like our shows, we'd really appreciate it if you tap on your phone a few times and leave us a rating and a review. We are brought to you today by Game Blazers, which just announced another special 40,000 prize pool in free roll contests for Christmas week. That means $148,000 are up for grabs from now through the end of week 17. So if you haven't tried Game Blazers yet, it's definitely not too late to get started. Use referral code FFAD when you register. You'll get a free starter pack plus a free rare pack along with a spend 5, get 50 offer. Once you finish onboarding for 2 more rare packs, download Game Blazers today. Fish and I are about to give you the waiver wire guys that you need to get on your lineups this week. Here we go.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
As always on Tuesdays, joining me is Scott Fish to preview the waiver wire stuff. What's going on, Scotty?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Good
Is
times.
that a Ken Griffey Jr. shirt? Because I know how much you love Ken Griffey Jr. That's the 24 on your Twitter handle.
It is a Ken Griffey Jr. shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. I like it. I like the color. I like
It's
the
one of the few that doesn't have Scott Fish on your shirts too in your wardrobe, right?
It's the only one.
You're like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks. You always wear a shirt with your name on it just so you don't forget. Hey, let's hop into the waiver wire stuff. But first, I'm going to go around the league, and we're going to talk about the latest news around the league. Here we go.
News team, assemble!
Scotty, if you want to comment real quick on any of these, go ahead. I'm going to rapid fire them, though. Drake London may be an option in week 14 against the Seahawks. He's been week to week with a sprained PCL. Would you start Drake London against Seattle?
It's a tough matchup. Good cornerbacks. I would be worried how limited he would be. I think we need more information later in the week.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Speaking of cornerbacks that are good, Sauce Gardner will miss a few weeks with a calf strain. Everyone was theorizing it was an Achilles injury, so this is actually great news for Colts fans. Justin Herbert fractured his non-throwing hand and was going to undergo a procedure this week. He still might play on Monday night, but you'll probably need to grab Trey Lance if you're the Herbert owner, just in case, since they're a Monday night game. The Cards are not opening Kyler Murray's practice window yet this week. It seems like we're going to have Jacoby Brissett at least for a week or 2 more, which is good because Jacoby Brissett's been pretty all right.
Yeah, he has.
Amon-Ra St. Brown missed Monday's practice after a low ankle sprain knocked him out early on Thanksgiving. They play Thursday against Dallas. I'm going to guess that Amon-Ra won't go in that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed, not yet medically cleared to play despite having practiced most of last week. They're trying to get him back, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Packers wide receivers later. JJ McCarthy will start this again this week, and he will do so without Adam Thielen, who is granted a release from the Vikings. And then finally, Mike Evans could practice this week. T. Higgins might not. He's still in the concussion protocol.
It's a lot of fun news. One more to note. Amarian Hampton looks like he'll be suiting up Monday.
Oh, they're gonna take him off of IR finally. I know he practiced a lot last week. I had hope for him going into Sunday, but it didn't work out for him. I'm hoping he goes again. I got a lot of teams with Omarion Hampton, but I also got Kamani Vidal, so I'm feeling okay there.
Yeah. You're good either way.
All right, waiver wire. Let's talk quarterbacks. I only had one on the list this week. It's Tyrod Taylor because there's no real shakeups at the quarterback position this week. But Tyrod put up some decent numbers. 172-1 through the air. That's not that impressive. But if you add 44 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground, then you've got something there. He's going to be super flex startable this week against the Dolphins and then next week against the Jaguars. But then that's it. You're not going to start him in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Right. It's a good fill in. Maybe you have Drake May on by this week or something like that. Yeah, it's a good fill in.
Absolutely. Let's go to the running back position where Kyle Monangai is 60% rostered right now. Both Bears backs went over 100 yards and scored on Black Friday against the Eagles. Monangai has been the better running back for 3 of the last 5 weeks as far as fantasy points scored, but it's pretty close to an even timeshare at this point between him and DeAndre Swift. And the next 3 weeks are against top 10 run defenses. That's tough. Packers, Browns, then Packers again. Is Monangai a guy that you're probably just going to leave on your bench during these important weeks of the season?
It's possible. I don't know how he's only 60% rostered, to be honest. Like, I figure every league picked him up when Swift went down, and there hasn't been a reason to drop him since. So it's a little weird. It's only at 60%. But yeah, with those matchups, it really just depends on what you got on your roster, I suppose.
Absolutely. Blake Corum's a guy we've talked about a few times on the show this year, 17% rostered right now. Had a very efficient 7 carries for 81 yards and a score against the Panthers. And he's had at least 7 carries in 6 straight games, but hasn't had more than 8 carries in the last 3. The Cardinals this week are a great matchup for runners, but Detroit and Seattle, they're both top 8 in run defenses in the next 2, so you're not going to start them there. They finish out with Atlanta, which is another good matchup, but there's still this pesky Kyren Williams thing, so that kind of gets in the way of the Blake Corum party. But as you like to mention, Scott, this is the time of the year where you pick up those backup running backs.
Yeah, and especially a one like this with his situation where he was already getting that, 7 to 10 touch workload. Kyren Williams left the game with a leg injury, came back and finished it, but he left the game with a leg injury. And the Rams are looking to be like a top 2 seed. So depending on how hard they push for that 1 seed, or, just trying to save Kyren Williams for the playoffs because they know they're having a playoff run. If that injury lingers a little for Kyren and they want to lighten up the workload a little, you might see some more Blake Corum.
Absolutely. And it's going to be kind of interesting, I think, too, that Sam Darnold and the Seahawks and the Rams, Darnold's going to be in the same spot he was last year, where he might be fighting for a number 1 seed or the number 5 seed going down the stretch.
Unreal.
Yeah, crazy. Let's talk about Chris Rodriguez, who's 26% rostered. He led the running back room with 11 carries last week. Jeremy McNichols had 6, and Bill, he only had 4. Rodriguez got the touchdown. In fact, in week 11, it was Rodriguez again who led the way. He had 79 yards that week, and that was the highest rushing yard total for the Commanders back since week 5. The Commanders running backs have only managed 3 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks. The Vikings this week are a mid-grade opponent against the run. After that, it's a tour of the NFC East and all easy matchups against the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. All great matchups for runners. Yep. If it's Rodriguez leading the backfield, I mean, if we know for sure, sky's the limit for him to be like one of the actual fantasy playoff heroes this year.
Yep. It was just a few weeks ago where we were looking at this playoff schedule for the Commanders, for running backs, and excited for either Bill or Rodriguez. Rodriguez has really taken that over. It was at one point the number 1 easiest playoff schedule for bet fantasy runners. I believe that's dropped to 6th now because, teams move around a little bit. Mm-hmm. Things change over a couple of weeks, but it's still a, top 5 or 6 schedule for running backs. And don't forget, if and when Jaden Daniels comes back, if he is able to come back for the fantasy playoffs, it's a rising tide raises all boats. There'll be more opportunities for those runners to get into scoring position and whatnot. So, I like Chris Rodriguez a lot in this situation.
Bam Knight is a guy we have to mention. He's 31% rostered. It feels like we mention a Cardinals running back on this show every single week. Trey Benson hasn't returned yet. So it was Bam and Michael Carter in the backfield for yet another week. Bam had 14 touches, 98 yards, and a score. and he's led the touch totals amongst running backs in Arizona for 4 weeks straight. The next 2 weeks are the Rams and the Texans. That's about as tough of two matchups as you can get. And then it's possible that Trey Benson is back and healthy and maybe retaking control of the backfield. Now, weeks 16 and 17, that's against Atlanta and Cincinnati. And whoever is the top back in Arizona at that time could be a league winner for you. So
that's a weird spot. Like Bam Knight would be an interesting sabotage drop this week, but you might want it back later. So
hey, I advised on the Fantasy Friday show it was time to sabotage drop Justin Jefferson.
I heard and saw that. Yeah.
It's I don't think I'm wrong. That's the horrible part. All right, let's go to the wide receiver position. I mean, you could pick up AD Mitchell for Justin Jefferson if you were to sabotage drop JJ. Evidently, he solved that drops issue that was plaguing him, including the drop at the goal line he had when he was with the Colts a few weeks ago. He actually caught one at the goal line and then held onto it and then fell into the end zone, still holding the ball. And that's what they call a touchdown. That was one of his 8 catches and 102 yards last week. His running mate, John Mechie, who I kind of liked better. He had 4 catches for 19 yards on 8 targets. And at one point, I think he had like 1 catch for like -3 yards. So he was not looking good. I had him in a few lineups. I thought it would be Mechie. The fact that the Jets are forcing the ball to AD Mitchell is probably a good thing, as they can see if he can make the roster next year. Dolphins, the opponent this week. It's actually a bad matchup for wide receivers, but Jacksonville, New Orleans, and the Pats, the New England Patriots in the final weeks, they're just kind of middle of the pack matchups. So are you starting AD Mitchell in your playoff run? I'm not.
Probably not. And Garrett Wilson will come back eventually too and siphon some of those targets. And I don't know how invested I want to get into the Tyrod Taylor led Jets offense for at least passing yards,
Ooh, here we go. Yeah, you're probably right on that one. Can I interest you in a Tyler Shuck led passing offense and Devon Vele? He's 1% rostered. Another receiver that was traded for this year. He's
That's
on a
big trade too. It's like a 4th and a 7th or something like that. Like that's not, I mean, it's not a lot, but it's also not nothing.
It's not nothing. So the Saints are in a lost season. They got to see what they've got with Vele. He was the lead target getter last week for the Saints, caught all 8 of his targets for 93 yards and a score, had 7 targets the week before that as well. And Tampa's a good matchup for him, but he won't see another good matchup until your fantasy championship week against the Titans. So what do you think? What are we doing with Devon Vele?
I mean, I think it's a roster wait and see type of move. More not too different from Mechie last week and various players we talk about on this show that we don't know if it's real or not, or if it was a one game. This is what they knew would scheme well against that defense and work. So, I mean, you pick them up for nothing or for $1 or whatever, throw them on the back of your bench and see what you got. Just like New Orleans is seeing what they got, I guess.
What do you think about him for like a dynasty stash right now? Because he's probably available in most dynasty leagues.
I mean, it depends on how deep your roster is. I'm sure he's probably rostered in most dynasty leagues or deep.
Scott, you like dynasty rosters that are big, so he's probably available in your dynasty. All right. The next guy, Isaac Tesla, he's only 2% rostered. And
so mad about this.
You're mad?
I dropped him in 3 leagues last week because I was just like, I'm done waiting on him. I need to make some moves.
We were literally waiting for Amon-Ra St. Brown to go down in the 4th snap of a game with a rolled ankle.
Right. Yeah.
And you weren't wrong.
Well, my thought was with Laporta out, he wasn't getting, extra routes or snaps and whatnot. But no, Amon-Ra, there it is.
Well, he got extra snaps. He was on the field for 92% of the snaps last week after Sun God went down. And if he's out for a week or two, I think this becomes kind of an interesting guy to,
especially this week against the Cowboys with Amon-Ra on the short week.
Yeah, I think that's the first one. That's the best matchup for wide receivers in the league against Dallas on Thursday. Vele Then they have the Rams. They're middle of the pack against the wide receiver. And then the Steelers. They're the second easiest matchup. So if this were to take 3 weeks, Isaac Tesla could be sitting on 2 decent starts.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
I like it. I'm interested in it. I've been a all year believer in him. Obviously, he's been sitting at the very, very tail end of my bench, just hoping for that athletic freakiness to represent on the field. But it's been a long ride, but these are some good weeks for it, and it's trending in the right direction for him to make some fantasy hay.
Real freaky. Jaden Higgins is 37% rostered. He's had 4 or 5 receptions in 4 straight. He's scored in 2 of the last 4, and I mentioned before that he had a touchdown called out of bounds on the 1-inch yard line in one of those games that he missed it. He's the number 2 wide receiver in Houston. He's consistently on the field for about 60% of the snaps every week, and the rest of the guys are between 20 and 60, and it's varying every week. But Higgins is pretty much 60% of the snaps now. Chiefs and Cardinals the next 2 weeks are mid-grade matchup. He's super startable in week 16 against the Raiders, but he'll definitely be on your bench in week 17 against the Chargers.
Yeah, Higgins is very serviceable as a number 2. I mean, T. Higgins in Cincinnati. You got Jaden Higgins in Houston. You got Higgins on Magnum PI. I mean, they're just
okay.
They're just really good. They're really good at that secondary role, and they can produce for you.
Only Fantasy Football Almost Daily can bring you those 1980s Tom Selleck situational drama references that you richly deserve.
So dumb.
Hey, how about this?
We've been talking about
Ted Lasso. He was the number 2 guy. There we go.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, it's a trend. It's a trend. Speaking of trends, Higgins has been trending really well for weeks on end. He should be on rosters.
Yeah. Dontavian Wicks is 3% rostered, but I'm calling this one fool's gold.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled by the numbers last week, because Matthew Golden looks like he's going to return this week. And Jaden Reed, as I mentioned in the news, could be back as soon as this week as well. So all of a sudden, Dontavian Wicks goes from being the 3rd wide receiver to the 5th wide receiver in Green Bay. And you don't want to do that. He's going to be behind Golden, Reed, Dobbs, and Watson. So I just think playing with Green Bay wide receivers at all in your fantasy playoffs is playing with fire. And outside of maybe Watson right now, who's been serviceable, I don't think I could feel comfortable starting any of them.
Nope. Same boat. For me, earlier in the year for Green Bay, it was basically Kraft, in the receiving game. I mean, Love and Jacobs are fine, and we talked about Emmanuel Wilson when, he got his opportunity, but it was basically just Kraft, and I don't want the rest. Love just spreads it around too much. And I think that's Watson now. I slightly am okay with Watson, but the other ones will pop at times, and you just can't predict it very well.
All right, last wide receiver I'll mention is Treylon Burks, who's 1% rostered. He's on the Commanders now. I forgot he was still in the league, to be completely honest with you. And I only really bring him up because he made a crazy highlight reel touchdown catch, and there were like 3 Odell Beckham catches on Sunday.
I know.
This week.
Puka, Bowers, and his were all 3 just really good.
Yeah. That was Burks' only catch. He only had 4 targets on the game, was on the field for 66% of the snaps, which was a little bit more than Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
But you figure that Burks' playing time is going to go down as Terry gets healthier.
Yeah. Terry's routinely an 80 to 90% guy. He hasn't been able to be that guy due to all the injuries this year, and he's just on his way back right now. So
here's what I'll say. If Terry McLaurin has a setback or Deebo Samuel gets dinged up, the schedule for Treylon Burks in the fantasy playoffs is pretty intriguing. And I think that as a second receiver with maybe a Jaden Daniels offense, I think I'm kind of interested in Treylon Burks, but not as the 3rd wide receiver.
Yeah. I can see it. I would not be throwing a lot of money on the hopes that one of those 2 get dinged up.
Well, at this point of the year, I mean,
Maybe.
Debo's been dinged up for like the last month, and
The last career, really.
so it would not surprise me if those two veteran guys in what is a lost season for the Commanders all of a
Right.
sudden come up with one of those injuries that's like, yeah, I think I'm good.
I think it's more that we just listed 5 other receivers outside of Wicks that, probably have more staying power. And it feels like we list a handful each week that have that Burks type, maybe this guy could be a thing this week,
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe this guy could be a thing at the tight end position. It's Brenton Strange. He'd be a stranger thing. Yeah, I did it.
Woo!
I tied it all together with a current television show.
Pop
Woo!
culture.
Strange is 29% rostered. He caught 3 of his 4 targets last week for 45 yards and a score for the Jags. The 4 targets was second on the team in targets last week behind Jacoby Myers' 6. But that was ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington, who had 3 apiece. Now, this week, it's the Colts and then the Jets and Broncos and Colts again in your fantasy playoffs. All are decent enough matchups for tight ends.
Yep.
And if you have George Kittle out this week, I think that Brenton Strange is a guy that you can grab from the waiver wire and start this week and feel okay about it.
Yep, absolutely. The Colts are, I would say the Colts are a pretty darn good matchup for tight ends. So, and you get them twice in the next 4 weeks. Yeah, Strange honestly should have been picked up in a lot of places last week. The places he wasn't, you can now see that you should go get him. He's going to get some volume.
Yeah, and he's just now 2 weeks off of IR, so that's why he was dropped in so many leagues.
Yep.
Speaking of a guy who just came off of IR, Darren Waller is also 29% rostered. He came off of IR last week, had 3 targets, 2 catches, 47 yards, and that's not enough to be like, oh, let's go pick him up everywhere. The only reason I mention him here, he's got the cakiest of cake schedules. The Jets this week, then Steelers, then the historically bad Bengals tight end defenses, and then the Bucks in your championship week. So he's a plug and play starter in at least the Cincy game. The Pittsburgh Steelers are bottom 5 against the tight end as well. And the Bucks aren't much better. So there's the fantasy playoff schedule for Darren Waller is really nice.
Yeah. And he has 1 to 2 end zone targets in every game he's played, all 5 games he's played. So it's also a point where you're like, I think he's only scored 2 touchdowns this year, right? The 2 in that one game, if I'm thinking correctly, but he gets thrown to it at the goal line a lot. So his likelihood for a touchdown is higher than a lot of other tight ends.
Yeah. He's basically one of their 2 red zone options, it seems right now.
Yeah. I was going to go check real quick. No, he's got 4 touchdowns on the year.
Oh,
so
an Al Bundy.
He's got more than I thought.
There we go. Last one I'll mention. This is a guy who's been on this show a few times. He hasn't been like a guest on this show a few times. Can you hook that up, Fish? Can you hook up Harold Fannin getting on the show with us sometime?
Harold Fannin's family was at the expo. Harold Fannin wasn't, but Harold Fannin's family came to the expo.
Oh, you're only like a phone call away from getting Harold Fannin.
I'm a phone call away from a phone call away to getting Harold Fannin on the show, apparently.
I mean, it feels like we got a better chance at Austin Eckler and Tyler Algier, but Harold Fannin has been a favorite of yours. He's still 46% rostered. He's led the team in targets each of the Shedeur starts, and that's over all the wide receivers as well. And by the way, David Njoku, he's only had 2 total targets in those 2 weeks that Shedeur has started. The Titans are good on paper against the tight end, and that's this week's opponent. I just think Shedeur focuses on Fannin so much that he's startable this week. I think he's startable against the Bears in week 15 and the Steelers in week 17. So I got 3 of the next 4 as starting grades for Harold Fannin.
Nice. I don't disagree. I've been in on him since early in the year. 46%. He should be rostered a lot more than that, but he's almost a guy you could almost feel comfortable starting just in any tight end landscape, because he's gonna like that 3 to 4 catches, 40 some yards, hope for a score, hope for more, but it feels like his floor is pretty safe on a weekly basis.
Oh, Scott, can I give you a tough nut question for the week?
Oh boy, sure.
Right now, for the 2026 draft season, who do you think the top tight end will be in ADP?
This is a tough question because I'm
It's a
going
tough
on
nut.
I'm going on an ESPN show tomorrow where one of the questions that they threw to me in the rundown for tomorrow is who is your number one keeper league asset? Who's the like if you are in a keeper league right now, who is the one player that you wish you had or want to trade for? Like, because they would be your number one. And my initial instinct went to exactly this: Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, or Tyler Warren, just because of the position. I'm like, I can get all the other positions later. Those three are so above the rest right now. That's tough. I would like to see what Trey McBride, who his quarterback is next year. Do we know what Bauer's quarterback situation is going to be next year?
Do we know if Daniel Jones is going to be
there?
there
Do we know if Daniel Jones is quarterbacks? Exactly. I think I'm the most confident in Daniel Jones being the one that comes back to the Colts because they traded those picks. Clearly not looking to get a new quarterback. I think it might be Warren, even though he's the lowest scoring of those three. But that's a tough nut.
Thank you. I don't have a correct answer for you. I just
and this is the kind of thing that really isn't a correct answer. Other show hosts might claim to have a correct answer.
Oh, I love other show hosts though. They're so great.
Other
they always
show
seem
hosts
to know so well.
They're good people.
That one guy from Utah always used to say that he was correct. I swear he was wrong most of the time, but oh well.
Oh, that was funny. I went on Friday Feast with Paul Allen a few weeks ago, and he asked me one under the radar player that that people should get for this week, and I said Michael Wilson, and then he went off for 15 for 185 or whatever. But also in that conversation, he's like, "How come Charge always has the right answer?" And we're like, "We give it to him. We need to feed that hubris." We just let him have it. It was a funny joke. Obviously that's not the real case. It's a fun show and bit.
They're there, Paul from Utah. We got you.
We will.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining me again, Fish. I know we kind of squeezed this one in because of some stuff going on in our lives, but I will. I'm hoping to keep things rolling this week, and we were pretty hot on our Fantasy Friday and our Thursday and Friday matchups this last week. So I'm excited to do that. It's going to be me and Trevor and Anthony Maggio joining the show.
Oh,
maybe or maybe not as Mike Ditka for those of you video watchers. So should be pretty exciting. Try Game Blazers this week to win your share of $36,000 in prizes and free-to-play contests. Sign up with the referral code FFAD. You get a free starter pack and a free rare pack and some other stuff that you'll get to. Learn more at GameBlazers.com. Thanks a lot, Scotty Fish. We'll see you next week.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.